Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. We are talking a very important topic about the Triguni Maya. And today we will try to see which is our predominant guna. It's more of an introspection exercise that we would do after we go to the current shloka to kind of get a sense around that. What is our predominant guna? I mean, it keeps on fluctuating throughout the day, throughout the moment, throughout our lives. But then there is a dominant guna that usually takes forefront in our life, and that's something we'll try to see and also understand a little deeper theory around the Triguni Maya itself. So very warm welcome to all of you. Let's get started with our opening prayers like we always do. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right, so Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you. Let's get started. We are on 3.28 where we are going to talk further about the Triguni Maya that we introduced last time around and see what all we can cover. And we have a wonderful lecture coming up as well from Swamiji. So I'm going to recite it and we'll pick up a few hands to tee off the conversation today. Tattvavitu Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Matvana Sajjate. All right, whom do we have? We can pick up maybe 5 hands today because we have a hard stop at 10 today. And like
Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Sam.
Tattvavittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matvana sajjate. Radhe Radhe.
Well, Radhe Radhe, very nice. We'll pick 4 more hands, preference given to the ones who have turned on their videos.
Surprakaji, Radhe Radhe. Surprakaji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji.
Radhe Radhe, SSPG.
Tattvavittu Mahabaho Gunakarma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Matvana Sajjate.
Very nice. Thank you, SSPG. 3 more hands.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Tattvavittu Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Matvana Sajjate.
Very nice, Sandhya. 2 more.
Ragiji, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe. Tatvitu Mahabaho Gun Karma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartantu Iti Matvana Sajjate.
Wonderful, Pragiji. Last but not the least, who's the last one?
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe Samji. Tattvavittu Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Matvana Sajjate.
We'll pick up 1 more hand. Prabhat, I think he's a newbie who's reciting shloka, so we'll give you a chance. Prabhat, go ahead, please.
Radhe. Tattvavitu Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Matvana Sajjate. Radhe Radhe.
Nice. All right, Radhe Radhe. So we'll quickly get started. Samji, Uteji, rest of the folks will give you tomorrow chance because we have some content to cover. So let's get started. So we are doing Bhagavad Gita, right? Just a quick peek is why we are doing Bhagavad Gita, because for us, it's kind of a product manual for human life. right? We use this product called human life without really going through the manual. So this is the manual, right? In our scriptural standing, it has a very important standing in our scriptures because it's one of the prasthan trayai, okay, and the most accessible scripture. If we go and start reading Upanishads on our own or Vedic knowledge on our own, it may end up confusing us. And Bhagavad Gita, 5,000 years back, Lord Krishna has explained it so beautifully and answers anything and everything under the sun that humans need to know to progress spiritually. And the question comes, why do we need to progress spiritually? We need to progress spiritually because we want to attain our best potential. We all want to be happy and we want to break the shackles of Maya because it's not giving us satisfaction. We want to be the best version of ourselves in the material world, and we want to reach the epitome of our potential, which is getting the bliss of God. Okay. And that is the true success in our life. And until we get it, we'll not be satisfied. Okay, so this is a stepping stone for us to understand what is it that we need to do on a day-to-day basis. What are the practices we can adopt in our day-to-day lives so that it takes us a step closer to the goal of human life, which is attaining that perfect bliss. Our soul will not be satiated no matter what you give it to, right? It's like a fish out of water. Until it gets water, it will say, no, I don't like these jewels or anything else that you may end up giving us. So for us to progress, it's important to have the theory sorted out. 50% of the battle is understanding the theory. Remaining 50% of the battle is the practical implementation, where we convert that knowledge into wisdom by practically applying it. So what we are endeavoring right now is to go deeper into the theory, and with the hope that we can start imbibing, incorporating it in our day-to-day lives by taking those principles deeper in our intellect and our DNA, so to say. So let's move on. In this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, O mighty armed Arjun, illumined persons distinguish the souls as distinct from gunas and karmas. Yesterday we spoke about that we are in kind of an autopilot car, right? Like Tesla autopilot car, where your gunas are driving you. We'll go a little deeper into that concept today. But he says that is for the majority of the people. However, illumined people, they distinguish the soul. They understand that they have an ability to actually read their gunas also, or take a back seat, not simply follow their gunas. Right? How do they do that? By understanding that they are distinct from their gunas, and gunas is nothing but prakriti, as we spoke about yesterday. Now they perceive that it is only through the gunas in the shape of senses, mind, this is all prakriti, material nature, that move amongst the gunas in shape of the objects of perception. They do not get entangled in them. So they don't consider it as its reality. Right? Gunas will drive us to say, go for it, go for it. This will give me happiness. This will give you happiness. But the soul, it becomes a witness and simply lets it pass. Okay. So, and when we follow our guna, we end up incurring binding karma. When we take a back seat and let the gunas pass or transcend the gunas, then we get a step closer to the ultimate goal of life. That is how the process unfolds. Okay. Now let's get into a bit of a theory around it as well. So today we are going to have a beautiful lecture from Swamiji, and also we will talk about what is our predominant guna. We'll talk about how these gunas, play out in our day-to-day lives. Now, the Sankhya Darshan, we have spoken about this. Again, I thought we'll bring in this hierarchy. Purusha looks at Prakriti, and then the Mahan, and then these 24 entities, Ahamkar, these gunas, basically they are the driving forces, and then the Panch Tanmatras and Panch Mahabhut, and pretty much all the gross creation comes about. Now, if you look at it, typically, if somebody creates something, who's the default owner of it, right? Even in software system, in IT, when you create something, you are a default admin of that, right? Admin means you have all the rights over that. So when somebody creates something, right? Let's say there's an entrepreneur who creates a company. Who's the ultimate beneficiaries, or the one who should be benefiting from it? I mean, I'm giving a material analogy, we can keep on getting into discussion around that. But then by virtue of being the owner of that particular thing, that person assumes the role of the supreme enjoyer there, right? He's the person that everybody serves at that point. He may designate CMO, marketing officer, operations officer, CEO, stakeholders, and all that stuff. But ultimately, the profit or the supreme enjoyer of that entity is the one who created it. Material world, loose example. Now, if you look at, map that example to Purusha is the ultimate enjoyer. Purusha is actually glanced upon Prakriti and everything unfolded. So Purusha is the cause of all causes. And hence, by virtue of being the cause of all causes, is the supreme enjoyer. Now, what happens with Jivatma is we start to enjoy Prakriti. We think we are the enjoyers of the Prakriti, and that's where the balance gets tilted. The bhog, it leads to rog. When we think of serving the Purusha, we automatically get what we need in return. But we think that by grabbing it or by trying to enjoy it, we are going to enjoy it. Doesn't work that way. Okay. Like there's a saying in Hindi, right? Bin mange mile moti, mange mile na bheek. So it's no different here as well. It's like a shadow principle. If you keep chasing it, it'll keep running away. You start serving the other direction, it'll start following you. Okay. This is the rule of the universe. Now, that is where even in previous shlokas, Lord Krishna is saying, forfeit these pleasures, okay, because that will give you something much more valuable at that point. But we succumb to the lowly pleasures only, where we want to enjoy material nature, Prakriti, dictated or governed by our gunas. Okay, if we have Sat, Tamasic gunas, we say, go and exploit nature. This entire creation is created for our enjoyment only. Even if it comes at the expense of exploiting somebody, go for it. If we have predominantly Rajas Guna, we say enjoy life. Okay, life is all about enjoyment. As long as we are not harming somebody, it's okay. Okay, so then your goal also becomes enjoyment at that point because your Rajas Guna is predominant. And the third one is you seek enjoyment, but then in a higher pursuits, right? Creating something, or maybe nature, or maybe helping somebody, philanthropic deeds and stuff like that. Then you are predominant guna is sattva in that case. So all these three tendencies, there's an interplay of these tendencies that is happening every moment, every hour, and every day, pretty much throughout our life. And that is how our life continues to unfold. However, when those gunas are directed, first of all, for your self-enjoyment, it is a binding karma. And secondly, the very nature or the approach of enjoying Prakriti puts it at odds with the way universe is created, because Purusha is the supreme enjoyer. And when you serve the supreme enjoyer, you get whatever you need in return automatically, like hand serving the stomach. And in that process, automatically gets the nourishment that it needs to sustain itself. All right, so let's move on. And look at this. Now, previous verse, Vimud Atma, we spoke about that concept. Ahamkara Vimud Atma, because bewildered by the ego, we misidentify ourselves with the body and think ourselves to be the doers. And in this verse, it is just the opposite. Tattvit, God is talking about the knowers of the truth. People, they understand. It's simply a play of guna. So they take a back seat, have that witness consciousness, don't identify themselves with their body or mind or their sensual cravings. They identify their spiritual identity distinct from the corporeal body. That is called situated in the self. And then they are not tricked into thinking that they are the doers of their material action. They attribute every activity to the movements of the three gunas. God realized saints, like Kabir said, Jo kare so hari kare, hota Kabir Kabir. God is doing everything, but people are thinking that I am doing it. Okay, we spoke about this concept yesterday. Now, let's talk a little bit about gunas. Okay, maybe we'll talk about it later after listening to this beautiful lecture from Swamiji. So I'm going to play this lecture. It's going to shed some more light on the topics that we have been discussing. I'll play it at a little higher speed so that we can cover the content as well.
Do those do?
Is the audio, is it audible?
Ji.
Are in
Ji.
ignorance and overcome by the ego. Now he contrasts it with the illumined souls. So he says, Arjun, the illumined souls, with the help of the insight of knowledge, are able to see things as they are. You see, this is important, to see things as they are. We have philosophical texts in the Vedic system are called darshan shastras. So what is darshan? Drishyate vastu yathatmyam anena iti darshanam.
Are you able to see the video or just hear it? Okay,
Just
somebody.
hear it. Just hear it. You can't see the video.
Hold on. That's not good then. Somebody
Okay.
should have told me. Hold on. Okay, now you should be able to. Are you able to see it now?
G. You can see the video.
Darshan is that which helps you see a thing as it is. Now, for example, you see your family members. This is my son, this is my daughter, this is my father, mother, husband, wife. Are you seeing things as they are? No, you are simply seeing the bodies and the bodily connections. As we deepen our knowledge, we'll say, no, they are the eternal souls. They existed before this life. They will continue to exist. For one lifetime, they've all gathered together in my house. You see even more deeply, oh, they are all parts of God. My son is a part of God, daughter is a part of God. How are we seeing things? As we grow spiritually, the world remains the same. Our vision changes. That's all. So the illumined soul is seeing the world differently. Is seeing the world in its true light. We people very easily become confused. Somebody has done some harm to you, he's a bad person. It is said, never hate the person, hate his defect. Don't hate the person. That person has got a few defects. Help the person overcome the defects, but don't start hating the person. But in our lack of vision, we are hating the person. He's a bad person. He's like this. So this is lack of understanding. So what do the scriptures, the knowledge of the scriptures, what does it help us do? It helps us see things in divine light. This is called Shastra Chakshu. You try it out. When you walk around, you try Shastra Chakshu. Try and see things according to the knowledge that you have read. All right, this is all the material energy. All right, God is seated in everyone. So now you are changing your vision.
Why doesn't every home in Texas have solar panels? The reason is not about sunlight or weather or even.
The world is the same. Your vision is changing. There is the vision of the dirty mind. Somebody's mind is dirty. What do they see? They only see defects in people. That is the sign of their own dirt. That is why they are seeing defects in people. It is like that philosopher who showed his students a glass of water half full. And he asked to describe the glass. Some people said it's half empty. Some people said it's half full. The glass is the same. Some people are seeing the deficiencies and some people are seeing the fullness. So similarly, if we are naturally, our mind is being drawn to the faults of others, that is an indication that our mind is so impure that the faults are visible to us. And as we become purified, we see the goodness. Oh, the soul is endeavoring in this manner. The soul has reached this level of growth, this level of unfoldment. And the God-realized souls, what do they see? They see God in everything and everything connected with God. So Hanuman says, Siya Ramamaya Sab Jag Jani Karu Pranam Jori Jugapani. He says, I see the form of Sita Ram in everyone. And hence I offer my respects to everyone. So as one gets elevated, what changes? Our vision. Similarly, Sri Krishna says here, Arjun, the illumined souls, they are seeing things more deeply. Their vision has changed, and whatever activity is taking place, they see it as the gunas interacting with the gunas. We don't see things, we don't see the gunas. That is why we become disturbed. Let us say in your family there is a fight. You wanted something, and your other family member did not want it. So this collusion of different desires or different moods creates the fight at home. And when such a fight is created, then you become disturbed. Why does my wife think like that? Why does my son think like that? Why doesn't my husband think like this? We want everybody to think in accordance with our thinking. But the fact is, everybody has their own gunas. All of us have our minds. The mind is made from the material energy Maya. And this material energy is constituted of the three gunas. Which are the gunas? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. The mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. The Vedas say, Ajam ekam lohit shukla krishnam vahvi praja srijamanam sarupa ajo hyeko jushamano nushete. Says this Maya is tricolored. Like the Indian flag. So this Maya is also tricolored. It has got white, it has got red, and it has got black. These are the three gunas. White is the sattva gun. Red is the Rajogun and black is the Tamogun. So this Maya has got 3 gunas, and Maya is made up our mind. Our mind has also got the 3 gunas. Now each person has got different gunas. Accordingly, their tendencies, inclinations, everything is different. One person's inclination keeps changing through the day. In the beginning, he says, today I think I should go for Swamiji's lecture. This human form is most precious. I must not misutilize it. This is a golden chance. Swamiji is here. I must go. Now the Sattva Guna is dominating. So his spiritual inclination has increased. And then after that, his friends and relatives come and they do gup shop. You know what happened to him? This happened to him. That happened. This. So the Sattva Guna has slipped into Rajogun, mode of passion. So his moods are changing. Should I go or should I not? I'm feeling a little lazy, because now it could be, I could enjoy just relaxing in my drawing room sofa. I'll have to sit on those austere chairs in his lecture. So the Rajoguna has changed his inclination. And then a fight happens at home. He tells his son, you should study. The son says, my father, I've grown up, I'll do what I like. What? You think you should do like that? Now the anger has come. Tamogun is dominating. His inclination has changed totally. I'm not interested in Swamiji and God. I don't know why do they keep coming to Virginia. The same person's inclination has undergone so much of change. All of us experience this, right? The 3 gunas are changing constantly. Our own moods are changing. The same is happening to the others in the family, your friends, your relatives. So when everybody's gunas are changing, how can you expect that others will always think in conformance to your own thinking? How should you think? Right now I want to see a movie, the other members of the family should also see a movie. I want to go for satsang, this should be in the interest of all of them. They've all got different gunas. But we bring in so much of anxiety for this. Why does he think like this? Why does she not think like this? And we burn up our own energy. So much of tension we create. Why? We don't see things as they are. And that is why we have unrealistic expectations from the others. And when the expectations are not met, we have a mood off. But then, when we get scriptural knowledge, we see things differently. All right, these oscillations will take place. If somebody doesn't agree with me, it's only natural. It's not the end of the world. So when we accept the reality of the situation, we will not be disturbed. Similarly, we become disturbed if somebody acts selfishly. I did so much for that person and that person doesn't care for me. So selfish. And we become disturbed, right? You're always being disappointed, disturbed. But if you see things as they are, everybody is selfish. Before God realization, everybody is selfish. Because everybody wants their happiness. They have not yet attained happiness. They want happiness until they get happiness. How can they be totally selfless? So if somebody has acted selfishly, why be disturbed? Just see things as they are. So the saints, from that level of illumination, they see things as they are. And the same world does not disturb them. And we people live in this world and feel so disturbed. Swamiji, bada tension hai, aapko nahi pata. Ye grihastha ashram mein kitni parishani hoti hai. So Sri Krishna is saying, Arjun, these illumined souls, they see the gunas interacting with the gunas. And thus, although performing actions, they do not claim doership over the activities done by their mind-body mechanism.
Okay, so hopefully it sheds some more light on the topic that we are talking about. It's a continuum of gunas unfolding, and let's talk a little bit about what are these gunas, right? Why do they keep on tormenting us? And we will try to understand this a little bit before we get further. So here comes the 3 gunas, okay? See the gunas are back now. These 3 wrestlers are fighting throughout the day in our head. Now, whichever wrestler, sometimes one wrestler becomes powerful, sometimes another wrestler becomes powerful, sometimes a third wrestler. Whichever wrestler is powerful, those kind of tendencies will become dominant in your head at that particular point. Okay. And where are these tendencies coming from? Is it something God has given us in free fund? Go, you will have the tamasic wrestler dominate you, or you'll have the sattvic. No, we are the ones who have fed these wrestlers in our past lifetimes. Okay, so whichever wrestler we have fed more will become our predominant guna at that point. Right? There's I think neuroscientist, neuropsychologist Donald Webb. Right? He says basically the neurons that wire together, they fire together. That means the kind of thought process we have exercised in the past, that is coming back to haunt us even now. Okay, so what we exercise now becomes our mindset, not only our mindset for this life, but also our sanskars for lifetimes to come. How did we acquire certain tendencies? Because we practiced it in our past, right? Practice, through repeated practice, we acquired these sanskars, and repeated practice can do wonders. Like Peter Drucker, who's the father of modern, what do you call that, management guru. He's known as modern management guru, who floated the theory of management by objectives. He said that you can continue to train and retrain your mind as best as you want, right? He continued learning, and his last lecture when he delivered was at the age of 92, just 3 years before he died. And even at the age of 90, he was learning Japanese literature and stuff like that. That means our mind is malleable and trainable. Whatever we feed it, that wrestler will become powerful. And you can feed the wrestler at any age. That is the key thing. And whichever wrestler we have fed the most is coming back to take dominant position as part of our sanskars, right? So with intellect and witness consciousness, we can actually beat that, because we don't have to participate with that wrestler. If we are in an autopilot mode in our lives, then we are letting these wrestlers having a free hit in our life. Like Swamiji so beautifully explained, that it's a play of gunas happening in everybody's head, because they have some default gunas active at a particular stage. But the thing that differentiates people who have a spiritual understanding than people who don't have that understanding is the fact that a spiritualist would take a back seat and understand this is happening. There's a play of guna happening in my head. I don't have to give it too much of importance. I should let it pass. And the other person is upset because maybe his other guna is active at this point. This too shall pass. So you don't start fighting it out and creating a scene out of it, because it has to be expected. Okay, so it's a play of gunas that's happening in everybody's life, and that is the whole premise of this game of Big Boss and all those things that happen, right? Reality shows, because people have to fight. When you put them in a closed environment, create stressful situation, even if you don't create, they will create themselves. But here's somebody's externally imposing those, so of course these gunas will become magnified at that point. They will come out and people will fight, right? Seva world also exposes you to so many gunas. Again, you have a choice either to fight or to navigate through it. So that is where all these understanding, what Bhagavad Gita tells us, Lord Krishna is telling us, we can put to good use. Next time we come across somebody who started giving you a tough time, you simply, look at it from this perspective. It is a good play of guna. Okay, and this will also pass away. I don't have to activate my tamas because somebody else is in tamas and getting upset, angry, and bitter about something. You can continue to navigate through that by activating your sattva, or even higher, utilizing it as an opportunity for self-growth. Right? So that is the whole idea. Okay. Now, the question I wanted to pose, see, here is I'll give you a quick sneak peek of how the gunas interplay happens. So when we start our day, some people start at early morning, right? Their sattva is dominant. Some morning till evening, rajas is dominant. And then evening till night, tamas gets activated. Okay, this is typically how the gunas unfold during the day. Predominant guna, I'm saying. Okay, that is why you see people who have to do some crime or bad thing, or even take intoxicant. Typically, that tendency starts, coming or becoming dominant towards the end of the day. As soon as the sun starts setting, somebody needs, I just need a drink, right? That tendency is going to overpower you around that time, because it's a time of tamas. So these are the dominant gunas during the different times. Similarly, depending upon the choice of food that we make, that guna or that wrestler we are fueling. So if you have a lot of spicy food, you are fueling the rajas passion inflaming the passion in you. Okay. If you're having intoxicants like nothing like a frothy beer, you are inflaming your tamas gun. And if you are having, fresh succulent fruits, then of course that falls into the sattva category. Those kind of mindset tendencies you would have throughout the day. That is why when you're fasting, you don't feel like partying and stuff like that, right? Your mind is calm and you feel in a different zone altogether. That is why fasting is important, right? Fasting of foods, fasting of thoughts, and fasting of speech, all three needs to be practiced periodically, is what our scriptures say. Similarly, from a music standpoint, when you are in a rajasic mood, nothing like the the latest Bollywood flick music, dancing dance, that's what your mind will tell you to listen to. And if you're in a tamasic mode, you want to jazz and metal and all that noisy stuff. And I don't know, probably I've been to hell, that's why I know that, because in hell I think that kind of music is played, hard rock and band and all that stuff. Okay, so that basically falls into tamasic category, not good for our brain wiring. But the classical ragas and all, they are sattvic, right? If you look at the very genesis of classical music is something related to God. And if you look at some of the biggest achievers on the classical side, they have a portrait of Mother Saraswati hanging on their wall side. Even if you are not from Sanatan tradition, okay, a lot of Ustad Bismillah Khan and all that, they also understood this aspect. Mother, it is all under the dominion of Mother Saraswati. The poetry, the literature, music, Mother Goddess Saraswati. So they worship Goddess Saraswati, even though in their tradition, they don't have an access to that understanding. But people who reach a certain stage, they start understanding these things. And bhajans, of course, they fall into sattvic categories or gunatit category if you are doing roop dhyan along with it. Right? So when you are doing a bhajan and actually thinking about God, his pastimes, his leelas, you are actually doing a gunatit. You are even transcending gunas at that point. Right? So the reverse happens. So depending upon the guna that you have, your thought process is dictated. Interestingly, reverse is also true. What you do will dictate your guna at that moment as well. Let's say you are in an agitated state of mind, right? And then you play something which is that, and you try to practice that effect of that music or that bhajan will be in accordance with that particular property of that music, right? If it is a sattvic thing, then your mindset will also calm down. Sometimes people do, right? When they get upset, okay, all I want to hear is some soothing music. It has its effect as well. So that is, we have an ability to either be dictated by our gunas or to dictate our gunas. Both choices are there with us. We can forcibly dictate it by understanding and feeding it more of what is beneficial for us. And similarly, bathing, clothing as well, right? I mean, depending upon the mode you are in, the more exotic stuff you would do with regards to your dressing and everything else as well. And sattvic is, of course, staying simple living and high thinking, as they always say. So the question I wanted to pose, do we have time? We do a little bit. How can we transcend our gunas? Because it's important for us not to let our de facto setting dictate rest of our life. Because de facto setting is because of what we have done in the past. And if we simply continue to do that, it will deepen that. So if you are born with the predominant tamasic, rajasic gun, that will take us much more deeper into the world if we don't challenge that de facto setting. So the question I am posing is, how can we transcend our default gunas? Because that is the only way you can differentiate yourself from mundane life, or mundane living, so to say. Because otherwise we are already living as per our gunas, right? Our mind is justifying what we are doing is right, and this is what life is meant to be, and this is what we should be doing. But unless we transcend it, basically we are going deeper and deeper into this material world and further away from God consciousness. All right, I'll open it up. We'll probably have 10-minute conversation on this before I'll hand it over to Urvi for some very important announcements. Yes, Sam, you had a question?
Radhe Nitinji. You the rock metallic, this kind of music are tamasic, you said, right? Because
I would like to believe so.
Okay, people who are inclined to listen to those like tamasic food, hearing tamasic music, drinking alcohol, consuming alcohol, that kind of lifestyle, will they go to hell or to animal species? Even they may not commit big sins like big crimes, but still will they go to hell due to inclination towards tamasic?
Let me ask you this thing. If there is a place of worship, let's say you go to temple, okay? You go to temple, would you carry a bottle of alcohol to a temple and have it inside a temple, or let's say a church or any other place?
No.
Why?
That's a holy place.
What will happen
Sacred.
if you do it?
I don't know. I believe it's a sin.
Okay. So now, God, where does God reside? Is there any place where God
Inside
doesn't
of
reside? So this
no.
body, he is residing as a super soul inside us. So our body is
Mm.
also a temple in that way. Okay. So next time you consume something, basically you're doing exactly the same thing that you would do in a temple. It is called as one of the Panch Mahapap, by the way.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so that means they'll
When
go
you
to
do
hell.
Panch Mahapap, of course, you have to bear the consequences of it. Okay. There are consequences. Now, the idea is not to freak people out here, but let's understand there are consequences, and more importantly, it is not good for our spiritual growth. Right. So we need to refrain from it rather than understanding the punishment. Okay, if I drink it once or twice, how will my punishment vary? Of course, you'll have to bear the punishment around it, right? It is not in accordance. God has not sent us here to consume intoxicants and waste our life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's the whole idea.
Hmm.
It is considered as one of the Panch Mahapaps, by the way, in our scriptures.
Okay. Shiramya ji, please
Old
go ahead.
alcohols, all that. There are 5 sins which are like super forbidden. And this is one of those.
Radhe Radhe.
So Yo-Yo
Hi.
Honey Singh is not doing a favor to the youth, okay, when he says char bottle vodka kaam mera roz ka, right? He's definitely not doing any favor to the newer generation at all. Okay, for people who may be getting inspired with him, especially when you are fresh out of the college and into a job and all that stuff. Yes, Shriram, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Sorry for interrupting you, Nitin. I thought you had completed. I wanted to answer this question: how can we transcend our default gunas? This is from one of Swamiji's lectures only. He said that wherever you attach your mind, you will acquire those gunas. If you attach your mind in the material world, then you acquire the qualities, all the three gunas. If you want to transcend these gunas, then you have to attach your mind to a place which is beyond the gunas, that is to God and God's abode. So that is one way how we can transcend our gunas, attaching our God.
Very true. Very true. It's only through knowledge can we transcend our gunas with right knowledge. When we bring right knowledge to our intellect and activate it when the situation presents, then we can override our default tendencies. Otherwise, our mind is very good at justifying its default tendencies. Take it easy, it's okay, all that stuff that we do. Very nice, Shiramya. Thank you. Let's hear from Sandhya and then Prabhat as well. I see a few new hands as well.
Sandhya, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So yeah, first of all, I guess it's important to be able to distance ourselves from our thoughts. Once we do that we are not really the thoughts, then we can start introspecting that what is it that I'm thinking. And I feel that if the next step is that who am I serving by doing a particular action, if we can ask this question to ourselves and bring our Tattva which we are learning, then that kind of helps us transcend over our default gunas and rise above them. Whether we are serving God or not through our actions.
True, very true. Yeah, it's important to pull out the right knowledge at the right time, and then that is the real test of knowledge versus wisdom. Right? There was a policeman, he was a retired policeman, so his wife in the night, middle of the night, they get some noise in their window, and she said, you know what, I suspect there is a thief here. He said, of course there's a thief, I'm a policeman. If I won't know that, who else will? So he said, then she says, I think he has already climbed the wall and entered our room. He said, of course I'm a policeman. If I won't know, who else will? And he said, I think he's stealing in our house. He started stealing and wrapping up stuff also. He said, of course I know. I'm a policeman. Who else will know? And he said, I think he's wrapped up the stuff and he's running away. He said, of course I know, I'm a policeman. So of course he knew. Then what's the point of knowing it? You don't take any action, right? So that is the whole idea. This knowledge is wonderful. But the key test is when the moment presents itself, are we able to pull it out of our hat and implement it? And then it will be extremely pleasing to God and Guru when we actually work towards implementing it during the trying situations in our life. Great. Yes, Prabhat.
Nitinji, I just want to ask one question. Like you mentioned that in Bollywood songs we can't, so that is also comes under tamasic thing. So there are two things. Like one is external gunas and another is internal gunas. If someone is having internal gunas like sattva guna and he is listening to Bollywood song,
Very
so
true.
in that sense, so they can think that Bollywood song is also a bhajan, because like there are some songs like Jabra fan song. I think you had heard. So in that song also he has said that mirror mein tu dikhta hai, something like these words they has used. So in that sense, what I mean to say is like it's all about our gunas, how we look at the things.
Very true. Very true. We can dovetail it. Very nice. What you said is we can definitely dovetail it. It's really what you're thinking. The same Bollywood songs, instead of thinking about Shah Rukh Khan, if you're thinking about Krishna, sure, now you're becoming Gunatit, as opposed to inheriting the guna that that person may have, right? So very true. What you're saying is very true. But yeah, with char bottle, vodka, that kind of song, if think about Krishna becomes a little difficult. That's why I put it as a tamasic category, right?
Basically in this we have to use our internal gunas where we have to do what. So
We can
it's like
dovetail it. Yeah, we can definitely dovetail it. And we use it in our Instagram so often now, right? Everything can be dovetailed towards God. That's the beauty about it. There's so many beautiful music and romantic songs that keep coming. But if you think about God and Krishna, of course, at that moment, it becomes Gunatit. The same thing can be dovetailed. Very nice point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, Tanmeji, I see a new hand today. Tanmeji.
Tanmeji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, thank you so much. Before speaking my question, before asking my question, I have one more question. Seeking knowledge comes under which category of gunas?
Seeking knowledge comes under Sattvic category. However, if we keep on seeking knowledge only and doing nothing about it, it is also being warned in our scriptures as Shastra Vasana. Okay. Now, if you are building pride and ego around it, then it might fall into from Sattva to Rajas also.
No.
Accumulating people using that knowledge, it may even fall into Tamasic category also. So really depends on how utilizing that.
I'm considering myself as Agyani consistently. I have surrendered my free will to the God.
Okay, well, that's a good attitude.
My question now, main question comes in. See, if I'm consistently thinking about God, I am doing my duties towards business, towards the personal life, towards the social life, towards the other people, other stakeholders in the ecosystem. Okay, this is the mundane life which is keep on happening. My question is, if I am consistently seeking knowledge and it is in the Sattva Guna and I'm doing the work, I'm doing the karma and I'm still seeking God, which type of guna is driving my life now? Is it my gunas are driving me? Like I see, even though we are cognizant that soul is different, soul does, in the previous slide it was mentioned, the soul does understand that it itself distinguishes from the karma and the guna. So at what stage am I?
No, what did you say? If you are doing your duties for the pleasure of God, you're saying?
No, not for the pleasure.
Are you attached to the outcome of your actions?
No.
Are you? So what are you? So you put in your effort and then you offer the fruits to God?
Yes, it's like I'm just doing the karma, just that's it. And I'm just want to seek the knowledge. I'm at a point of in my life where money doesn't drive me, interest, desires doesn't drive me. It's only I'm consistently seeing like, who am I? Who am I? Who is this universe? Who
So
am
there
I?
are
Who is
two.
this universe?
Understood. There are two areas, Tanmeji. There is no third area. Either your motivation for whatever you do is world or worldly related stuff.
Yes.
Is God. One of these two. There's no third area as such. So which one would you put it in if you were to say that? If you're saying knowledge,
See,
knowledge
the root
so that is the important thing.
the root of my spiritual journey began when I lost my father from a COVID. I was completely like absorbed in the. I would say I would have become. I became a rakshas. I would say, honestly speaking, I was doing every bad karma that one could possibly do. Made miserable. I like my family. I made my family members' life miserable because I was so selfish. Like I was so engrossed in my own pain. So after Guruji came to my life, like Swami Mukundananji, I watched his video, one video on Bhagavad Gita. So it changed my life. So after that, I started following Guruji, and from till that, it happened in September, October last year. And right now, I'm at this point of time, like even during when I'm going to my, right now I'm going to do my duty towards my own business, but still I will be thinking about the God. See, it's like two minds are still acting. Even during doing the karma, my mind is attached to God. What is this state?
No, when when your mind is attached to God, you are actually transcending even sattva. Right? That is the whole idea. So, even in fact, the Bhagavad Gita instruction to Arjuna is Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmar. So the end goal for all of us is to attach our mind to God at all the times without any interruption whatsoever. You are the
Sir,
best judge of that. Is your mind always absorbed in God, or it
yes,
mostly absorbed in God, or in so that is your own introspection. And if it is it is attached to the
always.
transcending gunas. Okay, you can speak with Swamiji because God and Guru would know exactly where you are in your spiritual trajectory, purely from a scriptural standpoint, from a theory standpoint. Whenever your mind is attached to God, that is gunatit, because God is nirguna. He's beyond gunas. Now, if majority of your time gets spent thinking about God, it is a very beautiful problem to have. Not even a problem, it's a great state to be in, I would say. Okay.
Sir, but it is giving, this state is keeping me restless.
Shouldn't be the case. Something might be wrong in that case. See, it's like when you do chemical reactions, right? You have a predictable output. Putting your mind to God, God is a source of bliss, peace, joy.
Yes,
If
yes, it is giving
opposite
me
is
peace.
happening, something is
No.
needs to be tinkered somewhere, and Guru would be the right person to guide you on that. So why don't you ask this question on SMX to Swamiji or write to him? He will give you very prescriptive advice around it, because putting your mind to God should not result in restlessness. In fact, it should give you confidence, peace, joy, and all the good things that the normal humans only crave for. Cannot be the
Okay.
case.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No worries. You should be asking him this question. Okay, something needs to be tinkered somewhere if that is the case. Yes,
Okay.
maybe a couple of hands. Himani, Prakashji, and Himani, real quick. Prakashji, real go ahead, please.
Haji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. So, good question, Inji. So I think we have seen many cases where even although people attend Swamiji's lectures and then spend with Swamiji, they don't stick to it, right? A lot of people have done like that, but very few people stick to and they take it forward. So I think to me, the only way to overcome the default gunas is to through that the process that Swamiji has given, right? Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan, right? If you, I mean, seeking the knowledge, getting the knowledge is one thing, and after that, contemplating on it and then getting to it and fixing on our intellect, that will help us to overcome the gunas. That's what I think.
Yep, that 3-step process. Beautiful, very nice. Shravan, Madan, and Nididhyasan. Yeah, when we are intellectually convinced and we put it to practice. Beautiful point, Prakashji. Thank you very much. Yes, Himani.
Radhe Radhe. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So you mentioned char bottle vodka. It cannot be converted into gunatit. I just had an
Maybe. Aisi pila de sakhi, I know you were going to sing that bhajan.
no. I had an idea how to convert char bottle vodka. Just convert it into Nam Sankirtan in the same tune.
Okay. Sure.
Basically, that's
been created. Yeah, we can.
we can do it then.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that for sure. Anything and everything can be dovetailed actually. It's all in the consciousness. Right? I was giving very crude examples, so don't take that too seriously.
Okay. That was very funny.
You made Yo-Yo Honey Singh sneeze a couple of times today morning. Okay, so that's good. Yes, I think let's give Urvi a few minutes and then we'll come back to you, Prashanta and Champaji. I think Urvi had a few announcements to make and then we can come back to Prashanta and
Urvi,
Champaji.
are you there? Can you raise your hand, please? Urvi?
Actually, Sandhya Didi is doing it.
Okay. Yeah. Sandhya, please go ahead. I'll be co-host. Yeah.
You made me co-host?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay, just a minute.
Yeah.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we do. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the daily activity tracker announcement that Urvi has made. So the results, basically cheering the winners. So we have two aspects of it. Things I will do, basically making a new habit. And these people have actually consistently done it over the past 1 month. Dayasini ji, Swati ji, and Jyoti ji. So kudos to all three of them. And the second category is things I won't do, which is basically breaking a habit, I mean, something that we do which we do not want to do and trying consistently to practice that. So Lakshmi ji, Jyoti ji, Dayasini ji, and Kiran ji. Kudos to you guys. And finally, most attempts and our overall winner is Dayasini. So congratulations and thanks for inspiring all of us. And I encourage everyone else to also consider looking at the daily activity tracker.
You can post the link for that as well, Sandhya.
I'll
For
do that,
this
yeah.
benefit, utilize this tracker to build new habits and to break bad habits and declare it to the world. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. So do take advantage of it. Thank you so much, Sandhya, for that. Yes, Prashant ji. Anything else, Sandhya, Urvi, you had? No, we're good. Thank you so much for tracking that and bringing it to inspire all of us. And I would encourage all of you to do that. I think there'll be points for that as well for your teams. Okay, so there's another way other than turning on your videos, sign up for it and help your team, get some bonus points around it. Yes, Prashanta, go ahead, please.
By the way, the Asmi is from my team, so thanks to us. Just kidding.
Ramji, you get an additional week to prepare now, so Monica ji will be happy as well.
Yes, thank you so much. Prashant ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Looking forward to your presentations. Yes, Prashant, please go ahead. We need to. Yes, go ahead.
Radhe, thank you. Actually, I have a question and a comment. Let's say, in the question what Tanmay asked, I think the problem he had is, he has, let's say, is the same problem that I had in my past. That is, I feared God more than I love God. Let's say, because whenever I went to my prayer room or whenever I went to temple to pray, what happened was a surge of negative thought would come into me, and I used to feel so guilty, and I used to beat myself, let's say, because I'm such a sinner. Even in the presence of God, even when I am in the temple, even when I am in my prayer room of my house, I am thinking negative thing. Even in the presence of God, I am thinking negative. So I used to feel so much guilt inside me that I can't explain, and that thing actually held me. That thing held me back, and I could not move forward in my life. That is the thing that happened to me. So I think if you feel that kind of something pulling you, that is your mind. So just shift the thing, like you are not fearing God, but you should love God, and God is loving you back despite the circumstances in the past. So I think that might happen.
Wonderful,
To move
Prashanta. I
forward
think
in
it's a
life.
great point. It happens, I think, in our spiritual trajectory as well. We start off as God acknowledging, that God fearing, and then God loving. So the sooner we transcend to that level, the better it is for our journey and to approach it with certainty, assurance, and the joy factor along with it. Thank you so much. Let's hear from Champaji, and then I see Monica ji as well, so we can cover 2 more hands, 2 minutes each.
Champaji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, Champaji.
Yeah, it's an excellent lesson as always.
And the question was, how do we transcend the three gunas, right? Our default gunas.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. In Kannada, there is a saying that the nature with which we are born, will not go even if we burn it. I mean, people think that it is very difficult to change the basic nature, but it is not so. I understood after attending your classes. We can change our default guna by developing anasakti, virakti, and equanimity.
Very nice.
How do we do this? Is by developing devotion, detachment, and by destroying ego. There's an example like I can give us. If you take a green pumpkin and throw it in the water, it will surely sink. At the same time, if you dry it with anasakti, virakti, and equanimity and throw it in the water, it will float. Everything is possible if you follow spirituality and follow the Guru and scriptures.
Beautiful.
Radhe, Radhe.
Very nice. Very nicely summed up, Champaji, and beautiful analogy. I think it's going to stick, make this concept stick. Thank you so much for that. All right, we have 3 more minutes. Yes, Monica ji, real quick, and then Urvi, we can take.
Radhe, Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Shamji, Radhe Radhe Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe everyone. So Nitin ji, gunas basically also, not also, we get them genetically also, right? For example, I mean, I can give my example that my father, he was a defense person, so he getting angry and all is not, I never considered that his guna, but I think because of the profession or whatever, he just kept on getting angry a lot of times, and I saw that thing in myself also. Over a period of time, I could overcome that. But then what happens when genetically you get some gunas? How can you actually work on it? First of all, recognize it and then work on it.
True. Recognize it because higher knowledge helps us understand it, right? You can still overcome it through your Kriyaman, because now you have access to the better knowledge. You are not subservient to your gunas at that point. And this is one of the tools Brahmaji has, gunas, DNA, to give us prarabdha. God has those tools, right? So the prarabdha that we are born with, if we are born in a family which has a genetic predisposition to a particular kind of disease, how do you explain that? It's part of our prarabdha. So these tools God has, but he has given you Kriyaman and this intellect. So you can actually break that matrix for your future things. So beautiful point that you brought on. We can discuss more on that. But yes, if you're born, that's part of your prarabdha. But you have an ability to even transcend that as well. So real quick, Urvi, we can take, and then we can continue the discussion in our next session. Yes, Urvi, 1 minute you have.
I just wanted to add a small thing related to what Tanmay asked. So this is when I started my spiritual journey. I also used to remain sad and dejected because I used to focus on the problems and I used to think, I don't do this. I keep making mistakes. I keep making God and Guru sad, and I used to remain sad all the time. And then I took the solution-oriented approach in life, which Swamiji suggests, that become aware of the problems, accept the problem, and then see what we can do to change it. And as a result, earlier people used to ask me, why are you so sad? And now they keep asking me, why are you laughing throughout the day? So,
it's a good problem to have, to have smile, wearing a smile all throughout the day. Wonderful, Urvi. Thank you for sharing that. I know we are on time now. So request everybody to fill out the feedback tracker if you have not already done so. We'll continue on this fascinating discussion tomorrow as well on gunas. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Radhe Radhe, and you can stay back for the next session, the book club session. Over to you, Sunil Bhai and Ajay. You are there. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you.